In the project for this chapter, we're going to be building a distance meter. So basically this will be an HTML5 app that you can run in the browser from a smartphone or another mobile device, and you can actually track the distance from one point to another using HTML5 and JavaScript's geolocation API. Alright, so you'll just press start tracking. It'll show you your coordinates. Basically we're just going to display the latitude and longitude because anything other than that, and we're getting into much deeper programming that's beyond the scope of this video. So let's take a look at it. Now you're going to want to run this on a server, whether it's on your local host using XAMPP or WAMP or something like that, or well, obviously you're not going to use that if you're using a mobile device, but just for testing or whatever, just to get geolocation to register. You're going to want to put it on a remote server to be able to use it on your smartphone. Alright, so I have it on my local server, so I'm going to go to localhost, and I have it under distance meter. Alright, so basically we can make this smaller. Obviously it's going to look more like this on your smartphone. Alright, so we just have a couple divs here with a title. We have the starting position, which is going to give us the latitude and longitude when you start, when you click the start tracking button. And then we have the current position, which is going to constantly change as you move. And then we'll have the distance in kilometers from starting to current. Alright, so if we want to start it, we'll just start tracking, and geolocation is going to send out a prompt to either allow or deny the for the server to get your location. Alright, so if they deny, then we'll get an error. They won't be able to use the app. Alright, if they allow, you can see that it gets the starting position, it gets the current position, which is obviously the same as the starting position at first, and the distance. Alright, so now we're not using a mobile device, so we can't really see it here, but I have tested it and it is working. Okay, if we want to stop, it's just going to stop it, and it's just going to keep the distance that you went on the screen. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. It's only 2 files. There's not a lot of code. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of code at all for this. So like I said, we'll be using the geolocation API. Alright, so let's just create a structure first. I'm actually going to go on my server and create a new. Actually, let's change the name of this one to done, and then we'll create another folder. And if you don't have XAMPP installed, if you want to go to apachefriends.org and just download and install it, and you'll be able to run PHP, MySQL is included, just a whole suite of open source development tools. Okay, so we have an empty directory. We just need our 2 files. So index.html. There is some CSS here that we're going to be using, but I'm going to keep it in the index file just because it's a real small amount, so there's no sense in creating its own file. Okay, index, and then we're going to do script.js. Okay, so let's open up these 2. Alright. So I'm going to paste just a shell of HTML. Alright, so let's link our JavaScript file. I'm actually going to do it at the bottom. Okay, so we'll say script. Okay, let's just make sure that that's connected. Alright. Alright, so let's create the HTML. We're going to, let's take a look at it again. Alright, so we're going to need a container to hold everything. And I'm going to put it to 100% just so it fits in whatever size window it's in. Okay, so let's first create it. This is going to be an ID, so we're only going to have one. My rule basically is if an element is going to be called once, then it's going to have an ID. If you're going to have multiple instances of that element, then it'll be a class. Sometimes I use container as a class because I put it in multiple elements. Okay, so container, and then we're going to have, we'll use the HTML5 header tag. Alright, and that's going to have an H1. Alright. Okay, so we're going to put each section, so the start, current, and distance, we're going to put these in paragraphs. Okay, and in the paragraph we'll have basically the title, which we'll put in a strong tag. Okay, so this will be starting position. And then we'll do a line break. And I'm going to set up spans. Span ID. And this will be the start latitude. Okay, and then as a placeholder, I'm just going to use this text here, acquiring latitude and longitude. Put a comma here. Okay, this will be start one. Alright, so I'm going to copy this whole thing. Alright, so the next one is going to be our current position. And this will change here. We'll change the ID to current. Okay, that's fine. Next will be the distance. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of these, get rid of this, and change this ID to distance. And basically it's going to start as a 0, and this is going to be in kilometers. Okay, and then next we want our buttons, so I'm going to get rid of everything in this paragraph, and we want a button, and we're going to give it an ID of start button, BTN, and then when we call it, when we click on it, we're going to call a function called start tracking. Oh, we need a button. Okay, and then we'll create the stop button. That will call the stop tracking function. Alright, and then we'll have a footer. And then inside that, we're just going to have a copyright. I'm going to put that in a span. Of course, it's just a fake copyright for the project. Okay, so I think that's good for the HTML side of it. If we save that, it's not going to look very pretty. Alright, now we're going to add a little bit of CSS, nothing too fancy. Just make this a little smaller. Alright, so like I said, we're going to just do the CSS right in the index page. Okay, so for the body, let's do a background of really light gray, and I want Arial text. Okay, and let's see, the font size will be, let's do 18 pixels. I think I did 19 on the original, but it's kind of big, so I'm going to just do 18. Alright, so button, we just basically want to make it bigger with padding, so we'll say font size 20 pixels and padding 3 pixels on the top and bottom and 13 on the sides. That should be good. Now, when we first load it, we want this stop tracking button to be hidden, because obviously if it hasn't started, we don't want to stop it. So we're going to just hide that in the CSS, and then we'll show it when we click start. We'll do that in the JavaScript. Okay, so we want button with the ID of stop button, and we're just going to set that display to none. Alright, now we're going to do the container, which will have a width of 100% because we want it to be responsive. Margin will be 0 on the top and bottom, and auto for the left and right, so that'll just put it in the middle. And we also want to align the text to the middle. Alright, so next we'll do the header. Let's give it a background of kind of a dark gray. Okay, header, and then we want some padding. We'll do 5 pixels, and then we want to do the H1 tag. So that's going to be white. And this font size, we'll make it big. We'll make it 30 pixels, and we want to zero out the margin and padding as well. Alright, so next is the footer, and that should be it. So the footer will give the same background as the header. Okay, we'll make this white. Padding is going to be 8 pixels, and then the font size we're going to make smaller, and that should do it. Let's save that. Alright, so that looks good, and very simple UI. In the next video we will start to add the JavaScript.